Thanks, everybody, and welcome to the January 13th Finance Committee meeting. We're here at City Hall. I am Councilman Britt Moore, Chairman of the Finance Committee. With me today here and present is Mayor Pro Tem Peters and Councilman Victor Jones. Not sure that Councilman Holmes will make it. He certainly tries. Sometimes his job commitments interfere with this particular time. But we will move forward and start right into our agenda because we have a quorum. First item on our agenda today is item 2022-7. This is a contract concerning Washington Terrace Park Pool, and the presenter is our head of Parks and Recreation, Mr. Lee Tilry.
Good afternoon. Good to see everyone. Hope you are doing well. Before you is an agenda item for a potential contract with Pearl Plastering, and the reason for this contract is due to numerous issues we've had at the pool at Washington Terrace Park this past summer. We did some investigating in the last few months, and it looks like a lot of those problems are directly pointing to our infrastructure and some things that we need to do from an improvement standpoint with the plaster in the pool, the concrete in the pool. The overall shell of the pool needs some attention, and we need to do some investigating to see where we're losing some water. We did lose 8 days last year towards the end of the summer at Washington Terrace Pool, which is pretty crucial in a lot of days considering we don't have another pool open right now too. So to lose that many days was unfortunate. So we wanted to take a look at what was going on with the infrastructure of the pool once we found out that was a problem. And you can see some of the bullet points in the memo of some of the items that we're going to take a look at once we get into and some of the things that we are going to repair. We feel like a lot of the problems are based around some expansion joints where we made changes to the depth of the pool over the years. We haven't done this type of work since 2009, so it's definitely a need. This is an unplanned expense, and Stephen will follow me with a budget ordinance amendment. But we would like to move forward with the low bidder here, which is Pearl Pool Plastering, and recommend that you guys approve that contract in the amount of $125,613. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
When would that be completed?
So we'd like to start now, Victor. So we're talking about a maximum of 90 days. So we feel like if we move forward now and able to start in February, we shouldn't have any problem with meeting our deadline of opening day, which is a Saturday of Memorial Day.
Cool.
This type of work's not weather sensitive with the...
Not this particular work. I think we'll be good to do it during the coming months.
But do I read between the lines that we may be hearing back from you because there's some investigative parts to this?
Yeah, you listen well. We will have to remove the plaster. So there's a plaster on the outside. This pool doesn't have a liner, so there's a plaster on the outside of the concrete. So once we remove the plaster, we'll be able to tell a little bit more about what we have going on. We feel like, and the people that have looked at it with us feel like we're only looking at some cracks there, so we could easily repair those, come back with some new plaster, and we're good to go as long as we're not having any issues with more of those expansion joints, which I think we can fix too. So we don't anticipate any bigger problems, but I guess anything is a possibility, but that's the plan for now.
Well, let's hope for the best. Anything else? Then I'll make a motion to approve item 2022-7.
Second.
There is a second. Councilman Jones, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Peters?
Aye.
Councilman Moore's an aye. That motion passes.
Thank you.
Mr. Tillery, while you're up there, can you give us an update on City Park?
Yes, I can. Construction's moving along very nicely. We're meeting every 2 weeks with Salmon Corporation. Can't say enough good things about Salmon Corporation at this point. They're doing an excellent job communicating well with us, working well with our team and HH Architecture, who's assisting us with the construction administration. Progress is moving along. We are having some issues with some supply chains materials, whether it be delivery of those materials or whether it be substitution of some of those materials, especially as it relates to the pool. I think we're moving along a little bit faster with the park and the multipurpose building, and I think the pool is a little bit behind schedule. We hope to meet with them. We are meeting with them, I should say, towards the end of the month to look at the schedule in a little bit more detail as that's going to have a domino effect on some of the decisions we need to make moving forward in the spring and getting ready for operations. But overall, construction is going really, really well. Feel good about where we are. We should learn more. I purposely waited till the first part of the year to start asking them in detail about the schedule, because I know it's a big topic for them as well, but I wanted them to have a chance to have a better idea as to where we are, because that was what we set forth, was to hopefully get this thing done by Memorial Day of this year. So,
All right, well, I appreciate the update, and hopefully everything keeps coming together. Are they holding their prices for you? Are we seeing any changes from suppliers with all that's going on?
You know, it's kind of ebbed and flowed. You know, we had a lot of credits in the contract that you all approved that we haven't had to use. So it's kind of balanced out some of these small changes that we've seen, but we haven't seen anything really as excessive to this point. They've done a good job about working with subcontractors. They understand where we are with the cost of the project. They've been good about comparing prices. Salmon and both HH have done a good job in looking out for our best interest. So we haven't seen anything too excessive yet as far as changes.
Thanks for the update.
Yes, sir.
And congratulations to Summit, if any of them are listening, on their recent recognition as one of the 50 fastest growing companies privately owned in the state. So that's a great honor. Next item is 2022-8, and this is the budget ordinance amendment that was just referred to, and Mr. Stephen Halverlick.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr.
Got it.
Chairman.
I got it.
Good afternoon to you.
Thank you very much.
That's right. Good afternoon to you and members of the Finance Committee. This is a budget ordinance amendment appropriating $125,620 in general fund reserves or fund balance for the maintenance and repairs at Washington Terrace Park Pool that Mr. Tillery just spoke about. We feel since these improvements are major and more capital in nature, using one-time fund balance is the most appropriate revenue source, also due to the timing, so we can move quickly on the repairs, and staff would recommend approval of the ordinance amendment.
Thank you, sir. So, is that good with everybody? I'll make a motion to approve item 2022-8.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Mayor Pro Tem Peters, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Moore is an aye. That motion passes. Thank you. Next item, 2022-9, is a change order number 3 with Brees Enterprises on our water sewer maintenance, and Trevor Spencer will present.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
This is an item requesting a change order be approved to add funds to the current water and sewer maintenance contract that assists our water sewer mains division with routine maintenance and emergency repairs for water and sewer utilities. This contract was originally awarded to Brees back in July of last year in the amount of $904,725. Since then, excuse me, contract funds have been exhausted, and that's mostly due to staffing impacts and also the volume of work that's been required for maintenance needs. Additionally, due to staffing impacts to the street maintenance division, all the asphalt patching associated with any water and sewer cuts in the streets is also being performed under this contract. So that's been additional costs that have been incurred. So we're requesting an additional $900,000 be added to the contract. And just for reference, this same contract last year ended at $1.65 million. So this $900,000 would bring the current contract to just over $1.8 million, which should be enough money to get us through the end of the fiscal year.
It costs a lot of money to have good water. Comments, questions?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second? I'll second it. Mayor Pro Tem Peters, how do you vote?
Wait, and you know what, I'm sorry, but I did have a question.
Sure.
So is it $900,000 over what they had quoted us?
Correct.
So it's double?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we're going to be looking at going forward is potentially bidding this contract out at a higher amount so that we could hopefully limit the amount of funds that we're having to potentially request later in the fiscal year.
Okay.
So that's something that we're going to be talking about with Public Services as far as what we may recommend for the original bid for the next fiscal year's contract.
Okay. And then do you all make notations and contractors that keep over underbidding? Does that help us determine what we do next?
This is a contract that is put out for bid annually, so we do receive bids on this.
Okay.
As far as the cost increases from year to year, historically, this has been performed by Reese Enterprises, so any cost markup from year to year has been very gradual. I would say
Oh,
on
that's
average, you're
big.
going to see it somewhere in that 3 to 5% range.
Okay.
If I may, members of the committee, this is Tasha looking for city manager. When we were looking at this particular item, I believe when we had this contract last year, I do believe there were three budget amendments that came back when we increased the cost of the contract with Greece. And I think that what we're running into is that we need to be better prepared in terms of what we're asking on the front end. It's not a situation of where Greece is underbidding.
Okay.
Based on when we call them out for work and the service that needs to be provided. So I don't want anyone to walk away thinking that Greece is underbidding to be able to have a contract report to them. It's as we're calling them for services, we're realizing that we're having to call them and to fill some staffing shortages.
Okay, well, good. All right, thank you.
Well, just for clarity, I for one don't mind you coming back on asking for amendments on things like this, because if you budget too high and see that amount of money sitting there, I know what you're gonna do with it, so you can come
Right.
back. You can come back and discuss anytime you want to.
Noted.
They've always done a great job for
Yeah.
us, so.
There's a motion and a second. I'll call the vote. Mayor Pro Tem Peters, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Moore is an aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, 2022-10, is a contract, has to do with our advanced metering infrastructure equipment. So we'll let Eric Almeida explain. Thanks.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This item, we're requesting you approve a master service agreement with Tantalus Systems, Inc. to install advanced metering infrastructure equipment. To remind you, back in on September 20th, we briefed council in depth on the process we went through, RFP process and selection process, that we narrowed it down to select Tantalus as our vendor. Back in September, we gave you pricing, upfront pricing of $6.9 million and annual pricing of $83,000. With this negotiation on the contract, the final pricing we came to was $6,191,886 with first year annual cost of $55,937. Just to remind you, this is the advanced metering infrastructure. It includes communications, hardware, software, data management, and associated systems to create that two-way network between meters and a centralized hub here at the city. A couple of other things you'll see in the near future related to this is a contract for third-party management of the project and meter data management system. So those two will come back at a later date. So we ask that council consider and approve this contract with Tantalus Systems, Inc.
Any comments or questions on this? I just wanted to go back and look at one thing in the notes. Okay. Anybody? I'll make a motion to approve if there are no questions of item 2022-10.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Councilman Jones, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Peters?
Aye.
Councilman Moore is an aye. That motion passes. Thank you, Eric. Next item, 2022-11, is consideration of our economic development of the downtown incentive policy and modification to the office and industrial incentive policy. I'm showing who's got it? On the phone. All right, Sandy, are you connected?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, the floor is yours.
Excellent, thank you. We are bringing forward and requesting that council consider adopting another targeted downtown incentives policy that would begin once it is approved and would run until June 30th of 2023 to continue to encourage locations in our downtown municipal service district. The work that has been done thus far certainly has encouraged large amounts of investments and job creation, and we want to continue that work. The levels of assistance are slightly lower for this policy than the targeted downtown that we had previously that expired in last July. So for this policy, the rent assistance would be at the rate of 45% in year 1, 35 in year 2, 25 in year 3, and 15% in year 4. So that is one of the major changes there. We are also asking for a modification to the office and industrial policy, and that modification involves a up to $75,000 building upfit grant to be able to be considered. All these incentives are subject to public notice, public hearing, and a positive vote by City Council, and are paid post-performance. So that building upfit grant is something that would now apply to the entire city. Previously, we had a building upfit assistance of up to $50,000 that was just associated with the targeted downtown, and we are proposing that that be added for buildings throughout the city. Certainly with a number of our building products, there is need to improve those spaces, and building upfit grant is something that we felt could encourage more people to do projects in some of our older buildings that might need updates. Glad to answer any questions in regard to these policies.
Questions? This is Councilman Moore, Sandy. The modification piece of this, I know you're probably, this may be rhetorical, but I'm sure you're constantly looking at our incentives and what can make us competitive and attractive. How often do you or do your board review this and look to the environment that we're in and making modifications or changes, additions or deletions to the policy?
So the job creation policy was enacted in 2011, along with the office and industrial was really re-adopted. The downtown policy was within the last 2 years that was enacted. So again, these are an update to one that was done in 2011, and then a reinstatement after a little bit of a down period. We certainly, demand is greater in the market, but there are still, again, there's gaps where projects are extremely difficult for people to do. So this is a little bit of a tweak to the office and industrial, but that re-implementation of that downtown, and we are hearing from a number of individuals that these incentives certainly could make a difference in us locating some of those projects. And just the opportunity for the building upfit, again, I think would help in some of our more distressed areas, as well as potentially with some of our office buildings that are seeing, quite a struggle with the downturn in the office market.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Sandy, will you be with us at the council meeting on Monday?
Yes, I'll be at the council meeting and at the manager's briefing to answer any questions and discuss further.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve item 2022-11 if there's no further questions or comments.
Second.
There's a second. Mayor Pro Tem Peters, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Moore is an aye. That motion passes. Staff can, because of what I feel is the importance of this particular item, I would rather it be presented as an outside item of the consent agenda for question and explanation, if that's okay with you. Okay. That motion passes. Thank you, Sandy.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Item 2022-12 is our next item, and that is concerning the sale of city-owned property, several. And Kim Thor is here to share. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
We have an opportunity to sell 6 parcels to Sterling Real Estate Development of North Carolina, LLC. They are at 208 Morgan Place, 209 Morgan Place, 213 Morgan Place, 1108 Gordon Street, 1608 Boundary Avenue, and 834 Putnam Street, for a total of $44,000. We'd like council approval to adopt a resolution to sell these at the upset bid process.
Comments, questions?
Motion approved.
There's a motion to approve. I will make the second. Mayor Pro Tem Peters, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Moore is an aye. That motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Thor. Next item, 2022-13, is budget ordinance concerning the fire department and Chief Tommy Reed. No, it's Mr. Haverlick again. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Chief,
sir.
you're sitting out there and your name's on the sheet. All right.
This item is to accept and appropriate $120,000 in grant funds from the Homeland Security Grant Program, and these funds are passed through the state North Carolina Department of Emergency Management, and the grant funds will be used to purchase an underwater remote operated vehicle for the High Point Fire Department. This remote operated vehicle is used for underwater surveys and inspections. It has the ability to withstand harsh underwater condition. It has a rotating imaging sonar, an ultra high definition camera, and a grabber for recovery if necessary. The program is covered 100% by federal funds. There's no local match requirement. We recommend approval and ask for acceptance of this grant and approval of the budget amendment. And Chief Reed is here to probably answer any detailed questions about how it will be deployed.
Are you going to drive it, Chief? No?
I like being on land, not much about going down the water where you can't see.
No, I hear you.
So,
I'm sure it's remote controlled, I assume.
what it is, and so the philosophy behind this is the state came in 2019 and came up with some ideas trying to make things safer. We're one of about only three paid dive teams in the state of North Carolina, one down east around Charlotte and us. And so we travel Blues Lake, Jordan Lake, we travel all around like searching for bodies and recovering and so forth. So the state came up with this grant, and they got it from the Department of Homeland Security. So the theory behind it is that once we got sonar that we tow, once we find the body with sonar, we'll send the robot down to latch on and bring it up, and it just makes it a little safer. If you've ever been in Ocala, you can see about 2 feet's about all you can see. So it's just another safety tool to keep the firefighters and the divers safe. And actually, obviously, we can put that robot in there, and you don't have to worry about bringing them up in 30 minutes to get them some more air. So.
I got it. All right, well, thanks for that explanation. Any other comments or questions? It's not often that you receive federal funds without a string attached. I'll make a motion to approve item 2022-13.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Councilman Jones, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Peters?
Aye.
Councilman Moore is an aye. That motion passes. Thanks, fellas. Next is the public, item 2022-14, the public hearing on our JAG grant funds. Police Chief Travis Stroud will present.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
We're asking City Council to adopt a resolution to approve our interlocal agreement for our Justice Assistance Grant. This is an annual grant that we go with the Greensboro Police Department, Gilbert County Sheriff's Department, and us. In this grant, we'll get $57,865.60, and it'll all be pushed into our body-worn camera program. The public hearing is set for Tuesday night as well.
Okay. Comments or questions? Does this go, I know we're having a public hearing, being that this is JAG money, that can that fall into the consent agenda? It can't, this will have to be the separate piece
It has to be after the public hearing.
after the public hearing?
Separate.
Okay, so is this a recognition, or do we have to vote on, or can we vote on this now as the vote to move it forward? I'll make a motion to approve item 2022-14.
Second.
There's a motion and a couple of seconds. Mayor Pro Tem Peters, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilman Jones?
Aye.
Councilman Moore is an aye. That motion passes.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chief. Anything else to come before finance? I think everybody's aware that the Mlk Holiday Parade has been postponed till the 23rd. Everybody be safe. I've seen pictures floating around there where there's no bread in High Point in the stores already. So be safe, and hopefully city staff and all the workers will be careful as well. If there's nothing else to come, I will ask for adjournment, and anybody opposed, then we will be adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.